All right, everybody, welcome to the DM and Friends, and we're gonna call this series "Yackin" with Jim Murphy, and Jim's a buddy of mine. We've been gaming for a while together, and it's always fun to hang out and talk gaming with you. But anyways, yeah, guys, we're gonna try to do this on a regular basis and get together and just talk anything, talk gaming. We might talk. You really never know. But hey, Jim, how you doing, man? By the way, everybody, Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve, and yeah, you're festive again. I like the shirt.
Right, it's Christmas. I get to wear all my Christmas shirts. I still got two more. One for my Christmas video I always do in the morning. So I'll get up at dark 30 tomorrow and do a Christmas video because I have no idea why, but it'll be fun.
It's kind of
But
something you
yeah,
do
it's
every
great.
year,
I'm
right?
great. I love talking about the hobby. You know that, and
Yeah.
I am long-winded. So
Get
fire
ready,
away. Let's get.
fashion. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Put your seatbelt on, everybody. But yeah, yeah. Everybody, welcome back. And for those of you that know or don't know Jim, Jim Murphy's has a YouTube channel that's been going on for God, I don't know how many years it's been going on, but he gets on there and he acts about gaming. And you're known as Game Methuselah online. Game Methuselah is your handle, I think, for Twitter, and I don't know if what your channel is called, but I think
I usually think it's just Jim Murphy Game Methuselah, or is just it.
yeah, yeah,
I only adopted that moniker because I'm just hoping to hang on as long as I can. And
yeah.
I can't figure if I can last out, anywhere near Methuselah's age, then things will be good.
Yeah, well, if it's funny that I think I've been to a couple cons with you, and some of the younger crowd would come up to you and say, "Oh, you're Game Methuselah," you know what I mean? So that's always funny
It
to
is.
be around gaming
My local
royalty.
baker here in Belmont Shore, one of the local guys who works the bakery, I go in there and we talk. He talks gaming because he walked in. He goes, "Oh my God, you're Game Methuselah," and I'm like, "Wow, actually, I have no real following." It's always strange when you actually run into somebody. I
Yeah,
remember when Matt Colville was first doing his videos about 8 years ago. We were sitting out at having breakfast one time with all our buddies, and this guy comes up to the table and starts wanting to talk to Matt. And Matt, he's gotten a lot better, but he was not necessarily what you find the warmest and fastest friend. And
sure.
he was a great friend when you got him, but he would always be kind of nervous when just strangers would walk up to him. So that
Yeah.
was funny. But he got way better. In fact, we went and saw the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and he took everybody when it came out for the premiere. And we wait as we saw the movie. I obviously saw that there were people in the theater who knew who he was, so I kind of looked at him and smiled, and he said, "Yeah, yeah, I saw them." So on the way out, there was like 30 people waiting to talk to him. They all wanted to talk to Matt Colville because he was, really booming at that time, and that's obviously since done his games. He's got his big business. He's producing, Draw Steel and all kinds of different modules and things. And he got up there and he asked the great question. He goes, "Who's the DM?" And the guys raised their hand, and then he got into the talking, and he looked at me, and he said, "Look how much better I've gotten." And I said, You're a master now." And that was it. I
I
mean, you
love it.
just got to learn that everybody there just they don't want to steal your thunder. They don't want to take your life or anything like that. They just want to have a feeling of what it's like to be there. And I always figure that's what we do in the videos is say, look, we're just you. We're the same as absolutely you. I think the
Yeah,
difference, as I point out, is that gaming allows you to have more friends and more acquaintances and meet new people and meet people that you might never meet. And, in the world we are today where everyone seems like people want to hate each other, I loved gaming because that's all that ever mattered was the gaming. You didn't care
yeah,
who the people were. Don one time said, "Look, if somebody moves into my neighborhood, I first question is, do you game? And if they say yes, he says, I don't care if they're blue. I
yeah,
mean, it's just a matter of come over and game, and you're going to be my next best buddy." And
yeah,
that's how it goes.
yeah.
And I hope people do more and more of that. And that's what I always argue. And I know I'm kind of a broken record on it because, man, it changes your life for the better. I guarantee it. I mean, Steve Key, I met about 5 years ago, and now we're writing, games together. And he's working on other games, painting miniatures, and I infest everybody with my painting bug. So, it's that kind of fun. But anyway, that's the hobby. Don't let people rain on your parade and tell you the world sucks. There's always good stuff out there. You know.
Well, you just said that you sound like a broken record about friendship and just not, jumping to conclusions and really just concentrating. What I hear from that is just concentrating on the similarities and not the differences, because I think we do live in a world today where the differences are so magnified, and I think it's not they're magnified because we've always been different people.
Right.
They're magnified because society is driving that, and the news is driving that, and education is driving that, and
Yeah.
all those
And
factors are
politics is
driving that.
driving
But
it.
it's always been there. It's always been there.
Yeah.
I think maybe we come from a generation where like you said, I've gamed with everybody, and I don't care. I don't really want to even get into those subjects. So we can as we become friends, but
Well, I always
the
tell somebody when they deep dive into that, I said, look, I'm a very small cog in a very big
yeah,
machine. I mean,
yeah,
what I think about politics, who cares?
yeah,
But when I think about gaming, and then, I mean, what are you trying to do? And when I'm always heartbroken when you see people out there who are, bomb throwing, for the lack of a better word, to hurt factors or to move their agenda forward. And you hear things, on all sides. It doesn't matter what their political persuasion, and
yeah. It's
I
just
think it
people in
really
general.
matters just that I want to win and I'll do or say whatever to do so.
Yeah,
You got to realize, even if you like them or don't like them or whatever, most of these people aren't your friends. I mean, they're
yeah,
all got an agenda, and you need to realize that your agenda is to make friends and have a good life, at least in my
yeah.
humble opinion.
Yeah, and if you are, and that is kind of the glory of gaming is you have that commonality, and if you can get past, if you can solely concentrate on the fact that this is what we have in common, we can be friends. You know what I mean? We can be friends based on that. I think it really goes a long way. Like we have we have a very small, well, we have a group of mutual friends that there's a lot of those friends that we don't believe agree politically, or we come from all different walks of life, or work different jobs and stuff like that. But we all that common piece is that we all get behind the table, we grab dice, we have all the miniatures out on the table together, the armies and the the whole rigmarole, the diorama, and we just have fun. And you know what? If you can do that, I think life becomes a lot easier. And if you can do that in all things in life too, I think that would be better. That would be a really, really key piece to just manage.
Yeah,
And man, stress levels would come down,
they
all
would,
that stuff.
and they do, and they did, and they always did. I mean, I think being a big historian buff and actually gaming, especially historical games, you begin
Yeah,
to realize that so much of this stuff's been going on for so long, and it's always bullshit. I
yeah,
mean, they're all basically giving you something to move their agenda along, or trying to destroy someone else, or get control or power. I mean, every war, every horror. I mean, I always tell people that wargaming made me a pacifist. I mean, as most young men in the 60s and 70s did, I was studying war, and we were coming out of Vietnam and blah, 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 and World War II and everything else. But the more you look at it, you wonder, what the hell were we there for? Why did these wars start? I still can't figure out for the life of me how World War I started, which had to be one of the most horrific wars ever, started, which also essentially led to World War II, which was also horrific. So millions and millions and millions of people died for what? I mean, look at where the world really didn't get any real better from all of that. And it pretty much stayed the way it is, except alliances changed. So now where Japan was our enemy and Germany was our enemy, now they're our friends. Where Russia was our
yeah,
friend, now people say, well, they're now our enemies. You figure it out. And I think the whole objective is that people have their own motivations, and you need to get that out of your way and make your friends and the people that you can really see and interact with part of your real life. And that's what gaming does. And let the politics be in your games. There you can,
yeah,
if you want to drain out politics, do it there. Drain it out, and people can look at it and go, "Yeah, this is terrible." And
yeah,
goes
yeah,
from there. And then eventually you realize, yeah, they're all liars. It's kind
yeah,
of, I
yeah,
mean, you start out a middle class guy and you end up in a multi-million-dollar mansion on some beach somewhere. I don't know how you
yeah,
did that in politics, making money, but what do
yeah.
I know? Anyway, let's get on to the real important stuff, the gaming.
Yeah, you know, Yeah, I mean, you said it a minute ago about beating a dead horse, but it's very important. It's an important subject, and it's a very important subject, and and bring it up all the time.
Can I bring up
Friends,
another thing, just something I would suggest very heartily for people? If you're into gaming or you're thinking about getting into gaming, go find the local hobby shops in your area. I
yeah,
mean, there's going to be there no matter. You may have to drive a little if you live in some out of the way place, but they're always everywhere, and that's going to be the mecca that stands around your gaming. Go in there, get to know the people, find out when they're going to game. Look for churches. There's churches that run games usually on days. There's little game clubs everywhere,
yeah,
and once you do that, and then the game, once you find a game shop and a few game stores, you'll have a group, and then it's all up to you how much or little you want to do.
yeah,
But support the people who are supporting the hobby.
yeah,
It's important.
yeah, yeah. So. Switching subjects a little bit, I was going to say, I was going to ask you what you've been up this week. I'll start it out because I know you'll be long-winded on it because you're a busy man. So anyways, on the DM and friends for me, Angelo, what I've been doing this week is I've kind of continued and released a bunch of videos on how to be a better dungeon master. So keep an eye out for those guys. Getting a lot of great feedback for these. The video I recorded today, Jim, I didn't even tell you about this, but I just recorded a video about how to handle disruptive players at the table. So that's going to be an interesting one. That's a touchy subject, which as dungeon masters, we all have ran into that where you have in a campaign where you have a disruptive player and how to deal with that the right way. So I laid that out and I'll be releasing that on, I think, Saturday. Very interesting. And I think I did a decent job. So I'll let you preview it, Jim, and you can tell me how I did. So that's what been kind of, going on my end. What have you been doing on your end, Jim?
Well, I was getting ready for the holidays, and I've been working
Yeah.
on my house. I just had to finish up here. We had to get all prepped up for the big storm that had just hit a couple days ago. So, getting ready for Christmas, doing all that, and basically starting to get things done for painting. And I'm also kind of breaking my collection up.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point now where I'm looking at it going, am I ever going to play a lot of these miniatures or am I ever going to use a lot of these games that I have? And if the answer is no, or I'm never going to use it where I'm not with my game group like Don and you guys and all that, I might as well get rid of it. So I'm kind of wondering what people would want to see. I mean, I have some real valuable stuff, I think. I have some really unique stuff. And it's like I got epic 40K painted armies. It's Tyranids and all these things. And I know there's people out there who want it. So I'm going to try to keep it together. I'm just trying to figure if I want to put it online and get ready. And I'm just trying to clean up my room. Plus, Don keeps, bugging me to paint more so we can get ready
Yeah.
for the big con
What are
we're
you
coming
painting
up
right
to.
now? What are you painting right
I'm
now?
painting more Ralnai since my Ralnai got stolen. We talked about that last time,
Yeah.
when I was coming back from Virginia. And then all my friends found me an army again. I've got a ton of figures here. And unfortunately, they're old. And that means they have to do a lot of cleaning and
A
prep
lot of
work. But
cleaning. Yeah.
yeah, but that's all part of it. And I'm doing that. It's just a million other things. And life gets in the way of everything. And you know how that goes. So,
Uh,
we're at it.
just so you guys know, when he said RAL 9, he's talking about Stargard. There's a couple of us now that are collecting and trying to rekindle the and building armies and stuff. And Jim on his way back, like you just said, this year,
Yeah, January. I went to back to
yeah,
a Cold Wars.
TSA or the airlines lost
Actually,
his
I don't know if it was that. I think the problem was I came out, it was late, I was tired, and I was loading the car, and I looked left instead of right, and I didn't put my miniatures in first, which I should have done. And somewhere in that walk, um,
I'm surprised they
the
didn't get
miniatures
back to
acquired
you.
legs and left.
I'm
Mhm.
surprised they didn't get back to you because I mean, realistically, it's a very nichey thing to
Well, my
loot.
name, address, phone number, everything was in the miniature
Yeah,
boxes. I called, I went and looked through, contact security, filed everything. Of course, now everything has to be online. You can't
yeah,
actually pick up a phone and talk to somebody and say, "Hey, would you go back and see if there's a black case back there with my name on it?"
yeah.
They did it, and then they said, "Well, we don't have any of this." And I got some people, and then it just went on and on and on. And then Don said something. So I would say this, I guess anyone who lives around the LA airport, Don has a police friend who said, a lot of people who steal stuff at the airports are just looking for, sadly, drug or food money. And they usually run to the nearest pawn shop and sell it
Yeah.
or whatever. So I went to a few pawn shops and didn't find it, but there's a whole lot of them around that area and around LA and that area. So
Yeah.
if you're ever there and you're looking to maybe get into a new painted game, there's somewhere around the line. There's some really nicely painted
Yeah.
used figures that you could pick up, and I'm guessing no one would know what they're worth, so you would get a lot. If you want to call me, or get back to me, I'd love to have my figs back. But I'm hoping they get in the hands of somebody who'll at least play. I
Did you
mean,
did you have a
that's at
picture
least
of
some
the
satisfaction.
did you have a picture of the case and the insides of the
It's just a standard miniature case. It's a black thing. The problem is, I think it looked like a computer case.
like a hard
It
shell
was just that.
case?
Yeah, it was soft shell, but it had foam. It was all rigid edges and stuff.
Oh,
It's
got it.
a
Okay.
standard foam case that you get at the hobby shops. They have them, and then it has
Yeah.
little squared out sections, and it'll carry a couple hundred figures,
Yeah.
which is what
Yeah.
mine was carrying. And they don't weigh a lot, and they go. You can carry them on board the plane. Is the big stuff, and that's why I
You
had it.
should post a video of that, and I wonder if anybody's going to a pawn shop in LA, because you're right. There's millions of pawn shops in Southern
I did.
California.
I've already since done this on my own channel,
Oh,
and
good.
said,
Okay,
but
maybe I'll
yeah,
grab a
but I
picture
mean,
of
it
that.
doesn't really matter. Like I said, it's just a matter that there's a million pawn shops, and you have no idea. I mean, I only hope is that somebody just didn't buy them and give it to their grandkids so they could smash them together, and be
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah.
no problem, Golden Demon figures, nothing to see
Kind of a
here.
rare army, because Starguard was
Oh, it's a real rare army. So were the Escher. The Escher
yeah.
females were it was the first Escher army in the United States, because I had a
Oh,
my hobby
wow.
shop then, and the guys from Games Workshop sent me an army 6 months before they released the Escher in the United States. So I
Yeah.
had them all painted before anyone even knew what they were,
Oh my
type of
God.
thing. So it was
Yeah.
very cool. But hey, you know what? It's life is what it is. You've got to take everything. You can't dwell on things that don't work out. I mean, like I said, to me, I hope that somebody gets use out of them. I would be thrilled with that. It's not
Yeah.
like I don't have other things, but unfortunately for the Rail 9, the Star Guard, well, that requires that I repaint them. And so
Yeah.
everybody got me miniatures. I've got two full armies now of unpainted
Oh,
Star Guard.
unpainted.
A lot
Yeah.
of them are prepped and mounted, but I'm working on it, and I'll get there
Yeah.
hopefully.
Speaking of armies, our mutual friend Don Hawthorne just posted on Facebook. I don't know. Did you see his post about the
I
Terminator
did.
army?
I
So
did
I'm
on
going
the
to bring that
Terminator
up.
army.
I want to look at that if you don't mind me bringing it up.
No, bring it up.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool to show everybody. So Don, our friend Don is a huge gamer who lives back east. He used to live out here in the LA area. I don't know. Can you see that on the screen?
I can. Yeah, I've seen it on. I've already taken a look at it too. It's
Yeah.
huge. Don doesn't
So
do things in small scale.
yeah. So
You know,
so the interesting thing about I mean, so this is so talk a little bit about this, because I think this is a Terminator 2 army. For what rule set was he using again? This
I'm
was
not sure what rule set he's using on this one. I really don't. I'm unfortunately on the West Coast. We didn't do a whole lot of play testing on this. Last big thing that he was working on was War of the Worlds, which was incredible. I played at Historicon their game on it, but I had played it at Dawn's a couple times, and it's fabulous with the walkers and all that stuff. So he just loves these games, and
yeah.
he's got a lot of them. He's got a lot of big miniature games. Where I tend to stay a lot of times at the role playing of all different genres. Don does that too, but he really gets into these, and there's so many great things out there. It's really a matter of what you want to play. I mean, I got a lot of people playing in the old games, the Star Guard and the Win, Place, and Show and Regatta, and there's so many other games that you can pick up for nothing. I tell people, man, if nothing else, just go online, go buy yourself a Car Wars game. I mean, you can pick them up. I've seen them for $10 to $15, and they're in mint condition, and they're 60 some years old, or at least
Yeah.
50 years old, and they're great games. I get people hooked on playing them, and then it's like, well, yeah, but the game's been gone for a long time. There's so much out there to play. I never want to push things down. I mean, around here locally, we still see a lot of collectible cards, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and any other games that pop up. There's always something going on, new stuff, and the new hot. Dungeons and Dragons still is, I guess, the king.
Yeah.
Not Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sorry. Wizards of the Coast's, well, Hasbro's now. Magic the Gathering
Magic the Gathering. Yeah.
is just the absolute pinnacle that people are playing. Now it's very different, and I haven't played in years, and having bought and sold so much of it, I'm not so sure I want to, and not
Yeah.
necessarily having the time nor inclination to want to get right back into it to compete. But I completed on the Pro Tour and did a bunch of stuff and had a lot of these early on, so it was fun. Plus, with the two shops, we did a lot of pre-release stuff and ran Pro Tour tournaments and stuff. And it became more like work. So
Yeah.
that is what it is. But there's just so many good games. Get in there and find something to do, find something you want to do and play it. But really, look for a bunch of groups, look for a bunch of people who are playing different places they're playing at, and show up. And they'll. I'm sure most people still are the same. You show up and you say, "I want to play." You're in a game. And before
Yeah.
you know it, you're making friends, and I think you already know that. And then suddenly you can have them over your house for dinner and start having bigger groups. And then whatever you go, you're going to have a reinforcement, so you're not going to be alone in the future. And that's the thing that worries me, that scares me the most, is everyone I meet, so many people seem kind of alone. They're and even in the gaming world, where it's like you go to cons and everyone's doing their own thing, but they're only doing that, and they don't resitate out to see all the other games going on.
Yeah.
I don't see them in 6 different games or 7 different games. I see them, playing their, Warhammer, or they're playing, whatever it is they're playing in
Yeah.
as a tournament, and then they never leave that room. And that's great if you really love it. But understand, even the best games. And I mean, I played for years in massive tournaments in the Warhammer games, but most of that stuff's gone. Those games don't even exist anymore. Fantasy Battle, Warhammer 40K, Epic. Those things that I played, they're gone. I mean,
Is there
they don't.
still, I'm wondering at Strategicon, is there still a scene for Warhammer there?
There is. Oh, it's still big. It's still running. It's out there doing it. But the thing is, they'll be in a whole separate room, and if you're not playing it, you will never walk in and see it. I mean, half
Yeah.
the time when I'm at cons, I just spend the time walking. A lot of times I don't even game. I'll walk around and see what people play. I mean, Donna were there one time, and guys were playing, the Cthulhu Wars, and they were sitting there trying to figure out the
Yeah.
rules. And we're looking at them and I go, "Do you want a couple more players and some people who know how to play?" And they were like, "Yeah." We sat down and taught these guys how to play a game.
Yeah.
And they were,
That's a
they were
fun
like, "Oh
game.
my God, this game is a great game." But
Yeah.
boy, if you don't know how it plays, it's, because we already beat through it. I think it took us about 4 or 5 games before we figured out that, each faction had its own strategy, and the strategies
Oh
interacted in
yeah.
certain ways. And then the game kept expanding, as all these games do. So suddenly, where you have one game, now you have one game and 4 expansions and 2,000 modules,
Yeah.
type of. And then
Last
it's
time
just
I
a
played it
matter of
with you
how much
guys.
you love this game.
Yeah, last time I played with you guys, I think I played Natharli Temp. If that's how you say his name, or her name, or whatever. I was, yeah, that's who I was controlling. Was we were playing at Don's house. I think that was the last time I
Yeah.
played that game. Yeah, I was playing, and he,
Nyarlathotep.
yes, yeah, I don't know how you say it.
Nyarlathotep. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Well, they're all great.
that's a
Cthulhu, they're
that's a
all great, and
nasty.
it's a great game. It's a fabulous game, and it's one of those games that once you know it, you realize that, and there's so many different ways you can play it, and the interactions are what make the game. There was one race we thought was absolutely hopeless, and then you find out that it's one of the nastiest races in the game. Everyone
Yeah,
went, King in Yellow. King in Yellow was crap, and nobody wanted it. And then I ended up playing King in Yellow and said, "Well, I just did all this stuff," and you find out it's like a manipulation thing, and it's
yeah,
totally playing entirely different than every other game and
yeah,
every other faction in that game. So
yeah,
it's intriguing. It's all
yeah.
intriguing. And that's what games are. They're great bits of education. I know a lot of people. You play what you like. If you're gonna just play Sunday nights or whatever with your friends, and you're playing, terraforming Mars, or you're playing, Catan or whatever it is. That's great. It's a great introduction to the game, and if you love it, keep playing it. But everything else you can expand from there, and that's all up to you for as little or as much as you want. I still
Yeah.
like playing Monopoly, but that's just because I.
Yeah, somebody commented on our video a while back, or that people are still playing Monopoly. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
I've
I love
logged
it.
hours in that game. Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I wanted to ask you, and I know you've done a whole series on this, how to be a great dungeon master. I want to ask you the question, what do you think makes a great game master? Because I
Johnny,
don't want to limit it. I
I
don't want to
think I
limit it to
somehow
dun.
think I maybe we talked about it, or I know that I've done it so many times. I think the best thing, about being a great dungeon master is get your ego out of the game first and foremost.
Mm.
You know, this is not a game for you. You're not making this and creating this and doing whatever. Or even if you're playing modules, it's still the same. You're not, it's not your game. I mean, any good DM who's been doing it a while will realize that really they're curating the experience. So what you want to do is make the experience as memorable as possible for the people that are playing in your game so
Yeah.
that they can make their character shine. A lot of times I know there are some game masters who want a juxtaposition. Well, your character does this really well, so I'm going to throw something at you that makes your weaknesses apparent. Well, why? I mean, to me, I'd rather have their heroes feel heroic.
Mm.
I'd rather have their characters feel like that the world is against them and they're doomed to fail, but somehow they're able through their spunk and ability and knowledge of the rules to basically pull it out of the fire and make it so that they win. Um, and that's it. I mean, yeah, they're going to lose. You're going to have parties that get wiped out. You're going to have groups that get wiped out. You're going to have, you're going to have long session conventions, and you're going to have campaigns that just peter out. I mean, sadly, I think often some of the best campaigns just sort of eventually, peter out because people get older and people get married and people move away and suddenly
Yeah.
your group is gone. So
Life gets in the
often I
way.
think a lot of times to be a great master, figure out something that'll be like 6 or 8 adventures, maybe 10 adventures, and then make that a storyline and then play it. And once you play it, let your characters free. Go ahead and take your characters into other people's games. That's the other thing I always don't understand. It's like your characters are in my game, and then my character, and then you don't let people in. And the old days of D&D from the beginning was you showed up at a con or you showed up at a game, you showed up whatever character you had. Now you may have played in a bunch of games with other people,
Yeah.
but that character came, boom, he's in the game. I mean, when we played with Lee Gold, I had never played with her in my life, but they wanted my high school girlfriend's 7th level wizard in the game. So we went up, we fought the dragons, and it was a very different experience. Caltech was a very different experience. But again, the whole point, as you're a game master, try really hard to find out what people are having fun doing and give them more things that are fun. And
Yeah.
that's where I think you get this idea that, this like he's a great game master. He's a really good game master. He's excellent. He does this, he does that. They had a good time.
Yeah.
However it is, if you got people who want to do stories, do more stories. If they want to do puzzles, find puzzles. If they want to do a lot more hack and slashing, more hack and slashing. Maybe it's mysterious magics. Maybe they want to travel through different dimensions. Maybe it's sci-fi and they want to play Star Wars or Stargard or they want
Yeah.
to play Star Trek. I mean, there's a million games out there. Call of Cthulhu. There's any number of backgrounds you can play. Find out what they want to play and what they're having fun playing and run it. And
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, I've DM'd so many different game systems where I may have liked it or didn't like it. I mean, for the Matt Coville's group, I showed up. I said they wanted me to DM. I said, "Well, all right, let's run Fantasy Trip." And they were like, "No, no, no, we only play D&D." And I'm like, "Ugh." I hadn't played D&D really in any aggressive manner till second edition. Since second, I mean, I had third, I had 3.5, I had it all, but I didn't really play it. But I said,
Sure.
"Sure." So we dug it out, and I ran a whole many years of games with them,
Yeah.
playing Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't hate. But I mean, to me, there are game systems out there I like better. But it's
Yeah.
not about me; it's about the players. And
Yeah.
if that's what makes it better for them, Yahoo!
Yeah,
Help.
for me, I think I said game master because I didn't want to just single it out to D&D, but for me, it really doesn't, the system is 25% of it. The story, I think, is 75% of it. Me, I always default to D&D because for me, that's what I came up on. That's what I played. I played almost every system out there. I cut my teeth on D&D, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, to be more specific. But I played Cthulhu and Boot Hill and Dragon Quest and this and that and D6 Star Wars and Star Frontiers and Fantasy Trip and blah blah blah. So I think you can do. I think for me the only caveat on that is if it's Cthulhu, if it's the Lovecraftian era stuff, the Cthulhu mythos, I want to play Call of Cthulhu because I think that system really just fits so well
It's very creepy.
yeah, it's a very, but that system almost like, and I'm going to throw another little curveball out there, but I think that system really captures because of the sanity component, and because realistically, your players in this huge, world of uncertainty are so fragile, and that's what they are. They're very fragile. They're just little pawns in this galactic universe of Cthulhu. You know what I mean? But I
Yep.
think another so that really fits very well for me. I think another system that really captures another setting very well is MERP. I don't know if you've ever played Ice MERP.
Oh, I love Middle Earth role playing. The rules are complex, but
Complicated, but man, does it capture that world really, really well. And I wish
yeah.
I could get a bunch of people together and play that because I mean,
I
I
ran
have
the
all
Mines
the
of Moria for
material.
2 years.
What's that?
I ran the Mines of Moria for 2 years in
Oh
MERP.
my God. And what
And
a
it was
great, yeah,
it's a great system, but the thing about it is everybody has to be committed to really understanding and learning and playing the game. And
yeah,
that's
they
the
have,
difference. You got to know your group. It's like I was saying, it's like the idea of playing for fun. You got to play to your group. If you're running for a bunch of, Steve was saying he's got a group of like 16-year-old kids, his son's,
yeah,
playmates, and they're all playing and they love it. But he says their dynamic is very different, than you're going to get a
yeah,
bunch of old stodgies, and I think you do have a problem as people get into it. They do get favorites, or they feel like, I know this game system, I don't want to learn another one. And that
yeah,
is often the case where
yeah,
they're going to, I don't know. There's a bunch of new games, like I said, that my buddy Matt, in his game, he put out, Draw Steel, at MCDM. And I mean, they got a great Kickstarter, but I don't have any idea who's playing it. I've gone to cons, I keep looking for it and stuff, and I don't know. It's a
yeah,
great system. I think my system, I think obviously Enlightened is really a great system. And the systems can be, and I think Fantasy Trip is a great system. I mean, you've obviously heard me talk about that. In all
yeah,
fairness, I think even a lot of the D&D stuff is really excellent. We don't even need to go into so many other games, and there's all kinds of games from Europe that I don't even remember the names on that are fabulous. The
yeah,
point is, what is everybody able and wanting to play?
yeah. Speaking of enlightened, I'm going to bring up the website here. Can you see that on the screen?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of enlightened, this is the game that Jim is developing. It's on D9 Games, itch.io, Enlightened Playtest. I'll put this in the show notes like I did the last one.
Yeah.
But and you're
Yeah, our
offering,
actual first edition is out. Yeah, if you go online, you can pick it up on itch.io. And the PDF's $10. And every time we do make a modification, we pass it on. And it's not like I have to redo things. We'll eventually make a hard copy printed book, I imagine, if there's any real popularity in it. But I was just really wanted a game system that was just different. And all the game systems are different. So I think the joy in game systems is playing the systems. Play
yeah,
the whatever system it is. I mean, I honestly was not expecting anything because I had not played Pathfinder, which essentially was D&D 3.5, and I already told the story of how that went. But
yeah,
they got one of the guys that is in our game group said, "Hey, I'd like to DM. Would you guys all play first edition Pathfinder?" And I'm like, "Sure, never played it."
yeah. Why
We're
not?
having a fun time playing it. I mean, it's very complicated. It's very 3.5, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff.
Feats and
But
yeah,
but you
yeah,
know what? It's got enough
conditions.
flavor of its own that it's fun, and that's all it needs to be is
Yeah,
fun. And
yeah,
then you get to take the best of it. And if you feel like you want to max your character, which is one of my things, I always try to figure out what the most unusual character I can make into something
yeah,
badass.
yeah,
So my little vampiric monk right now, who's a little girl, looks like she's Alice in Wonderland, uh, is in there fighting, and she's like one of the main fighters in our group, even though she's looks like she's like 10.
yeah.
And my
Having
friend
a lot
was
of fun.
playing it. He's looking at it going, he says, "Are you ready to go from Interview with a Vampire?" And I said,
Yeah,
"Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing,"
yeah,
type of thing. And so, you know, that's what gaming is. It's gaming is a
yeah,
matter of what makes you fun for you, but don't rob the fun from everybody else.
yeah.
Come in and be a bit player and really immerse yourself in your character and help everybody else do the same with theirs. And that
So
helps. From the DM's point of view, you got the hard job. I mean, you got the thankless job. I mean, but that's the job that is the important one because that's the one that sets the tone. And once you understand your group and you can curate everything to make the game go well for your group,
Yeah.
you're not gonna be perfect all the time. Believe me, I flub up all the time. But once you do that, you're just gonna start getting people going. That was one of the best games I've ever played. That was one of the best games I ever played. That was the best game I ever played. You start getting people to go, wow, that was really awesome. And they want to do it again and again. And then you can introduce them to all these other games. I mean, there's an HP Lovecraft store in Burbank, California, that is got all kinds of cool HP Lovecraft, Call of Cthulhu, Lord of, that type
Yeah.
of Lovecraftian stuff that you can go online because they got a business. It's a business, but they've let people go in there like myself and play and literally
Yeah.
run, the game. And they're
Yeah.
they're
I've
talking
been
about it
there.
now
It's a
with me.
nice, it's
They
a
were
really cool
texting back
spot.
and forth. They
Yeah.
talking like, would you like to come down and run games? And I'm like, in my copious free time, you bet. But
Maybe when
it
I'm
is
in
what.
LA, we should go and
Oh, I'll take you. Definitely will run over. You got to see it. The shop is
yeah.
really
No, I've
cool,
been
and
there.
the
I know
people are
what you're
cool.
talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
cool place. Yeah.
yeah. It
There
is a
was
cool place. They're really cool.
there was also a speakeasy that we used to go to. It was a Cthulhu club I was in back probably in the early 2000s that we used to all meet over there and a lot of fun. I think it's right around the corner from there. But
There's this is really role playing games have jumped into the mainstream somewhere in LA, and a couple of my gamers that we were talking about last week, and they told me what it is. There's a D&D play where you
yeah.
go
Yep.
and the play unfolds differently every time,
Yep. Yep.
depending upon the
Yep.
actors and the interaction of maybe some of the people in the stand. I mean, I was like, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "No, it
Well,
was fun. It was really fun."
they used to do that at Strategicon. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a live action play that they would have up in the front, and there'd be audience in there, and they would have audience interaction. So they pull people out of the audience, and you're the fighter, you're the boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
boom.
yeah,
And it is exactly, yeah, exactly what you're talking about. Now it's gotten bigger, I think, is what you're talking because
yeah.
they're doing it
Well,
at other venues. But
so,
it was specifically, and it started. I don't know if it started at Strategicon, but it was there for I want to say around 2007, 2008, six, something around that area, that era. Maybe a little, yeah, maybe a little earlier too, but they were doing that pretty frequently there. And there was a lot of actors and kind of improv. It was very improv-y. Um,
well, yeah. I mean, I remember the Renaissance Fair from the '70s and '80s
yeah,
when the
very
hot
similar.
action in the Renaissance Fair stopped, and when the Renaissance Fest closed, and you'd stay there at night, and you were just part of the whole adventure. And
Yeah,
it got very adult as the
as it
evening went
should,
on.
as it
So
should. After hours, as
it
it
got
should.
much different than it was during the day.
Yeah,
So
a lot of
it was
alcohol and yeah,
yeah, it was all kinds of things. And
oh yeah,
I mean, and when
yeah.
you're a young man, you do appreciate those things.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God. Yeah, that's the
so
best. That's the best.
so it was fun. I mean, and you end up meeting all kinds of really interesting people. So
Yeah. You
and
know,
the fact that I taught fencing and I was all dressed in my sword fighting regalia, that didn't
oh
hurt
yeah,
either.
perfect match. Perfect match. You know, you're so we were talking about what makes a better DM or GM, DM, GM. I want to ask you too because I just like I said, I just did a video on it today, and I'll let you preview it, and it'll come out on Saturday. But so, what has been your experience over the years? You know, because you've ran games all through the whole gambit. What has been your experience when you do, and it's been very rare, but I've ran into it myself. But what has been your experience with disruptive players in the game?
um,
How have you
I
handled
normally
it?
in a really disruptive player, I don't usually have them.
I know I don't
They do
either.
exist, of course, but I have them not in a permanent game. Usually, if you have a problem, we had friends of mine that gamed and they would be um, less interested. I have a problem. One of the things that drives me crazy, especially play testing a game set of rules that I've been doing for years, is a lot of people don't immerse themselves in the rules. If
Yeah,
you're going to play a game system, at least learn how the mechanics work. And the
yeah,
reason is they slow the game down. That's to me is the most disruptive thing. If you come in here and it goes to your turn and you go, oh, well, what do I do now? It's like, wait, okay, that's okay for the first few weeks or months. But if once you've been playing a couple years,
Yeah.
you should just get to your turn and everything should be seamless. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Unless it's story. If you're a storyline, well, okay, then you can, dialogue and everything else. Mark is totally dialoguing crazy. He's got a priest who's just so incredibly annoying, but it's
But if
hilarious with his dialoguing.
but if it comes up
What you do
to
with him is ask him to go. I mean, it's
yeah.
like, look, you need to change your behavior. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
be just straight with people. I mean, you don't want to like throw them out the door. You don't want to do whatever, or just, or just tell them. I mean, I always find that honesty is usually the best policy with
Yeah.
most things. I mean, there's no point in me, dancing around it. I mean,
Yeah.
if they don't fit, I mean, if they're not interested, now, however, they're interfering and being disruptive in the game. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, the ones that drive me crazy are the sandbaggers. Anybody who wants to role play their character and really go into lots of panache, unless they just go over the top and take so much game time where
Yeah.
it's impossible. I love people who go crazy on their characters. I love people who sing songs. I mean,
Oh
I had
man, that's the
Mog. I had a
best.
whole song for him, and
Yeah.
Orc and a bunch of other things that we made up actual songs. These guys had their own songs. That's all great. I mean, if you got somebody who's unpleasant, who doesn't want to, they don't want to play. They're there to be disruptive, or they're there to be whatever. There's
Yeah.
something missing in their situation. You
Yeah.
want people who are going to come in and play and enjoy the game, and then you can sucker them into becoming DMs, and then they'll start running games, and then
Yeah.
you can enjoy the games and do whatever. I
Yeah.
remember when Craig started running games, he one time said, "Oh my God, I said, don't worry about it. It's really easy." And he goes, "Oh, it's easy for you to say. You run games all the time." And he says, "I have to run a game for Jim Murphy and Matt Colville." And I'm like, "Yeah, but we're the easiest people to DM because we
Yeah.
understand where you are. We
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from. We're
Yeah.
going to be the easiest players you ever run into because we're not going to try to break the rules or twist the rules or twist you around in a knot. Whatever you say
Yeah.
goes. You're the boss."
Yeah. And we're here to
That
help.
has to be it. Maybe
Yeah.
that's it. I don't know what disruption. When I see your video, maybe I'll know more. But normally, it's like I say, look, I'm running the game.
Yeah.
If not now, there's other things. You can just suddenly have all the monsters sort of attacking and having a great interest in this disruptive player.
Yeah.
And when why, just say, well, you're doing A and B and C, and that's drawing their attention because it's surely drawing my attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it. I guess people used to say back in the day, be discreet. You don't want the DM to notice you, especially when
Yeah.
you had parties of 14. If the DM
Yeah.
doesn't see you, you got a good chance of surviving. If he
Yeah.
sees you and you're annoying, then whatever horrible demons are there are likely to eat you first. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on your disruptive. If they're really disruptive, you've got to tell them to go. I
Yeah.
mean, and
I
give
think
them a
I
chance,
think
talk, take
yeah.
them aside and talk to them. That's what I did. And most of the time, if they don't like what you say, they wander off anyway.
Yeah.
Because now you've called their bluff.
Not every game is meant for every person too. Like not every table is meant for every person, and I think that's where people kind of get a little, if this play style is not for you, you don't have to be there, or maybe it's just not a good fit. And I'm more talking about because con games are different than campaign play. They really are.
Absolutely.
100%.
They're just a novelty.
I love them both. Almost I'm more of a campaign person, but I've ran so many con games and I have had some of the best time. People cheering, throwing dice in the air, having a great time,
Yeah.
drinking, smoking, doing, having a, parents with their kids, and like just some of the greatest times I've ever had with cons. Um, I think where my video is more aligned to is disruptive because that's a different type of disruption. If you have somebody there that's just there to mess the game up, well then most of the time the group will look at them and say get the heck out. They'll do that. Somebody but in a campaign that could come in very subtly where somebody's in a bad mood that day or like where I'm kind of coming in at is, you have the player that always wants to be the center of attention. So that takes away from everybody
Yeah.
else. You
Yeah.
have the player that
That is
is,
that's always a problem.
yeah, you have a player that is not kind of jiving with the tone of the campaign. Tone, that's a big thing. They always want to make a joke or this or they're just not vying by the tone of the game. You have those are kind of the two. There's a couple other points in there too that I could
Well,
bring
I'll
up
give
that.
you a run secret in a game too. If you're the DM, I mean, these are the DM things that I will deny I ever said them, because sometimes people go, wait, you do what? Um, if you have people in a team, they're like hogging the spotlight.
Yeah,
They're everything's got to be about them. It's not about everybody else. Then what you do is you make up a really bitchin' magical item for like some quiet person who wants to play and they're trying to have a good time, but they're not getting any of the attention because their character is this and that, and you give it to them. They
yeah,
find it, and
yeah,
then the person who's the newest, well, we're gonna roll for it to see who gets it. And I said,
yeah,
no, the sword it basically bonded with that person, and it will not go with anybody else until
yeah,
she dies or he dies or whatever it is. And now what you have is this character who they have to deal with because
yeah,
he or she has the dependent magical item that makes the whole campaign run.
yeah,
And that is a great way to help people out, especially people who are timid, especially people who are even new into it. Give them something interesting. That's kind of almost always what I want to do. It doesn't have to be world ending or phenomenal, but give them something that is absolutely theirs. No one else in the party is going to be able to use it for whatever it is. It's a clerical item for their cleric. It's a magical wand for their mage or a staff of something that
yeah,
does one. And suddenly they get it, and because when if you're playing a module, just find a kind item that, oh, that's a really good looking item. We'll just change that to this and make sure this person gets it. That
yeah,
works. It works
yeah,
for running the game, and you're going to find that everyone's going to go, well, I didn't get something. Well, you just give out plenty of stuff. I'm kind of always in the point of giving out stuff. I don't feel that a game needs to be stingy. Sometimes people want to like drag it out, and really not. I think if you get 6 months to a year of a game, you are a very fortunate person with a good campaign. If you
yeah,
get some of our groups, whatever, but I mean, you're talking about people who are playing regular. If you're playing every week and you play 50 games, you got a year, let's assume, let's take, say, 30 games, you've had a
yeah,
full campaign.
yeah,
However that's worked out, you've had a really excellent campaign. And at that
yeah,
point, you might want to try something else. If you want to keep playing it, I mean, I've had characters that I played for years and years and many more years. But
yeah,
there might be a time where that character gets put away for 6 months and we start a
yeah,
different game or a different group. That's important. It's important to make sure that everybody in your game group gets an opportunity to shine. What do you want to play? Ask the person who just like, they're there. It's, what interests you? And suddenly if they tell you, you've got a hook. Oh, wait, they're interested in this piece of
yeah.
mythology, or
That's
they're interested
important.
in the
Yeah,
Fey world, or they're interested in the underworld and so, or Greek mythology, whatever. Well, suddenly you shift things around. So now what they're interested in really comes to the forefront. And then everyone else is going to get interested because, well,
yeah,
they all want to be part of the game. you
yeah,
know it you know Forcing people, the round person, into the square peg is always, it's not working. I mean,
yeah,
really, you want to coordinate the game so people are having a hell of a good time. They
yeah,
might lose. We've had campaigns where everyone had a great time and died.
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah. That's some of the best games.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's like, well, we didn't win.
yeah,
So then you can have, you can say, well, we want to try. Can we go on? And then you just go, wait, well, 50 years has passed, and this, all your kids that you didn't know you had or whatever
yeah, yeah,
try to overthrow this dark evil and stuff. That's like a trope from almost every movie you could ever imagine.
yeah, yeah,
Lost
yeah,
now, come back to beat it.
yeah,
That's it. And that's just requires a little thought. It doesn't have to
yeah,
be crazy. And even if, like I said, you don't feel like writing up modules or you don't feel like doing your own stories, put together 6 modules and run that. There's a lot of
yeah,
modules. It doesn't matter even if whatever game it is.
yeah,
Um, I'll have to talk about a game system down the road later, but this French game system where it generates the campaign for you as you play. Because every
yeah.
time you get to a point, you roll a die to see some modification, and then you guys make up the color for that thing that came up. It's hard to explain, but
Yeah, we'll have to get into
it
that.
miraculously works. So
Yeah, we'll have to
anyway,
definitely get into that someday. So for me to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, so and you said a lot of the points that I was trying to make too is one thing that you have to do as a DM in those cases is make sure you rotate the spotlight. If you have one player that's hogging it, you just rotate the spotlight, look at the next person, and what do you do? You know what I mean? The other thing too is, you always have that character that runs in and opens the door, without checking or whatever. you can enforce consequences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe that'll teach them not to be so whatever, so the environmental consequences or game consequences. And that kind of goes along with the point of, let their actions trigger reactions. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Exactly so. Exactly so. And then, the whole point is to let the table correct it. And if
yeah,
not, again, if you draw the focus off of them and give it to somebody else, like the person who opens every door, the
yeah,
person
the
who
whole
wants
magic
everything
item
to
thing
come
you were
along.
saying. Yeah,
Right.
totally.
Exactly so.
Yeah.
If the Hobbit gets the One Ring, guess who the most important character in the party is?
Yeah.
It's the
It
truth. I mean,
becomes
the story,
it
all you
becomes the
have to do is
Hobbit.
look at the storyline. You get the
Yeah.
it's like you can't give that you can't give Galadriel the One Ring, and she even
Yeah.
says it. Frodo offers her the ring, and
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh
You
my
can't give
God,
him.
don't do that because the world will end." She knows
Yeah.
it.
Don't give me that damn thing.
Yeah,
Can't you
you
see
know,
how I am at the table? Yeah.
yeah,
Don't do
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So and
Man.
it's and like I said, everything is not for everybody. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, if the game is getting out of control, say, hey, let's take a break and play some regular board games or something next week.
Yeah.
Come down here and we'll
Yeah.
run something else, or we'll play. There's a billion fantasy board games that you can play, and some of them are
Yeah.
great, and some are really great, and you get people to take a break,
Yeah.
and that helps. And that's again the whole idea of making friendships. Go out to breakfast or go out to dinner afterwards.
Yeah.
Go to a late, go to Denny's. I mean, I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how many times we closed. Well, you don't close Denny's, but we would go to Denny's at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we'd end up seeing you know girls coming in who were lounge singers and stuff. We'd close the place up and
Yeah.
we'd sit at our table, and they would go, "What are you guys talking about? Oh, we're
Yeah.
talking about our game tonight." And you'd have these people come over, and they were like, "Oh, can you tell us about that?"
Yeah.
And we would
That's
tell them,
so
and nobody
cool.
knew what D&D was back in the day. And suddenly you have, the next week you have girls coming to your group because they want to play. It
Yeah. They
sounds
want
great.
to be a
Can we
part of
play?
that. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that is what you want. You want to evolve. You want to stretch yourself too. If you don't feel comfortable, stretch yourself, because you're going to meet more people, and more people really make your life better.
Yeah.
I play with people I don't agree with. I play with people that more likely don't agree with me. Some think I'm crazy, more likely realistically so. But
Yeah.
but knowing these people has enriched my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the
Yeah.
ones that because at some point you start to learn that what you think may not be true, what they think may not be true, but there's always the thought that there is a different thought to everything.
Yeah.
So you can't stand there being so judgmental that you can't listen to what they're saying. And you could discount it or you can ignore it, but you can't abuse them by it. You can't say, "Well, yeah, that was stupid," or that, because as I said, once you call somebody a dirty name, you might as there is no conversation anymore. The
Yeah.
only way you get progress and your life to be better than it is to get people who like you, and get them to like you, and get them to understand you, and you can like them, and then you help them. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a guy moved in, bought a house near me, and I have a California garden, all cactus and succulents and all this stuff. And this guy started putting out stuff. He says, "Hey, I want to do this succulent garden." His yard was a mess, and I just started bringing over, because I've got 20 years of collected
Yeah.
succulents, and some of them are huge. And I just
Help them
kept bringing
out.
him stuff. He goes, "Well, can I give you anything? Can I pay you?" I said, "No, you don't have to give me anything. I grew all these. I'm glad to give them to you."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So the other day that we had a big boat
Share the
parade, my wife
wealth.
yeah,
Yep.
my wife was out at an event. I'm all alone. He's going, "Hey, we're going to the boat parade. Why don't you come with us?" I mean,
Wow.
so now I've made a friend. This guy doesn't know anything about gaming yet, but I might
Oh,
sucker.
yeah. You're gonna find out that he's an avid gamer.
Yeah, well, yeah, or he'll become one. I don't know. But the thing is,
Yeah.
that's the life. Every day, I think if I can make somebody else's life better, I've succeeded.
Yeah.
My time on this world is limited. At
Yeah.
some point, I
Boy,
will,
is it.
step
Yeah.
into the ether. But
Yeah.
until then, my job is to make things better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it may not make me any money, and often sometimes it's cost me a lot of money. But the point is, if you're not trying to improve the world, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just a matter of, I mean, I often feel so sorry for people you meet who have tons and tons of money but lead a crappy life, because
Yeah.
that's all it's the love of money, not
Yeah.
not the love of doing
Friendship.
something that
Yeah.
gets it great. And I mean, obviously, gun gaming has not made me rich,
Yeah.
but it's made me a lot of friends,
Yeah.
and a lot of friends
It's
have made
made
me
you
rich.
happy.
Well, I tell you, I don't know whether I would be alive today without my friends.
Yeah.
So many bad things happen, and things do happen. And if
Yeah.
you've got friends and they're there to keep you back, get your backstop so you can't fall any further than a certain amount, you've succeeded.
Yeah.
You've led a good life. I mean, if people have your back, that's what you need. And everything else is nothing. That's why I say the make the live games and make yourself friends. Because
Yeah.
even you can play military games, you can play any game, but you want to know what the people are doing.
Yeah.
We need to talk
Well,
about mechanics and rules sometime too. That
yeah,
that I think
yeah.
a lot of people always are asking about that.
So this will be our official episode number one of Gabbing with Jim Murphy and DM Angelo. I think we'll title it something like that. And next time we get together, we have to we have to pick a game and go through the mechanics or something. I'd like to be honest with you, I'd really like to go through the creative process, and because I know you've for Enlightened, we should talk about the mechanics of it, maybe demo it, or something. We
I
need to do
agree. Hey, I
that.
believe me. I'm not going to argue
No,
that
we should
point.
we
I
should
mean,
do
I
that. I
put a
think
lot of thought and effort and have put years of work in play testing. Plus,
yeah.
not to mention, this isn't my first rodeo. I've written two other sets of
Yeah,
game
we can
rules.
talk about those too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I backstop them. I'd rather do something that's active that people could actually play. I mean,
Yeah.
the Magic Sword, no one's going to play. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a fabulous game. Don loved it, and a lot of my friends loved it. And we played it, but it was ponderously detailed. I
Oh,
mean, I
really?
went for ultra detail. Now I realize that really the way you want your games to do is you want to throw some great detail there and have the players have all the ability to manipulate the game and make it theirs.
Definitely.
And that's what Enlightened is. Enlightened is a situation where you decide what your character does. The rules
Yeah.
don't do it. You don't open up your rules and go, sorcerer, boom, boom, boom. It's like, this is what my magic user does. And this is what he is. And he's this or he's that. And how his stuff works is this way and that way. And as you
Yeah.
become enlightened, and you can cheat and break the rules and do all the other stuff. And that's what I wanted. A game where the players have all the ability
Yeah.
to change the game.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'll definitely have to go over that at some point.
anything you want to talk about, you know me.
Yeah,
Yak, yak,
we've
yak.
talked about all kinds of different subjects, and so I mean that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna meet here weekly or bi-weekly or as much as we can, and because we love to talk about gaming, and the Lord knows that when you pull the string on the back of Jim, it doesn't go, it doesn't stop.
Well, I mean, I think something we should look at is a revival of a game called Deadlands. Now,
That'd
the
be
game
awesome.
itself, Deadlands, was, I think, one of the best Old West fantasy creepy monster movie games, and it was
Yeah,
had great mechanics. You played with a deck of cards. There
yeah,
were so
yeah,
many things that did. I mean, there are all these gems out there
yeah.
that nobody knows about that are
Yes.
fabulous games. And you might get people who play, wow, I want to play this. And you, of all people, because you've got the Boot Hill game and all
Yeah.
these other things, it
Yeah,
would
I'm
fit
a
right
lover
in
of
your
Old West.
genre to
Yeah.
have Old West monster movies, The Hanging Judge. And talk to Don Hawthorne. He's got a lot of
I know
Deadland
he's got
figures. He loves.
all of Deadlands. I know.
It is such a great, colorful game. Lots of
At,
fun to play.
at DonCon we should have him run a Deadlands game. I think that'd be
We'll
awesome.
try to do all that. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
well, DonCon might be an entire week, which will
Oh, it's
be.
gonna be. That's what we're talking. I
So, I
think that's
mean,
what
the
we're
whole
thinking.
point is we could do 20 videos of 20 different games. I mean, this is going to be, I think,
Well,
the
I plan
pinnacle
on being
game
there the whole
convention
week.
for this type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Too.
So
And I mean, I figure that we'll just have food brought in and intravenous fluids pumped into our arms. So we can keep
yeah. All
games,
right,
children,
dude.
games.
Well, I think what we should do is we should probably close this. I need to at some point in my get to the festivities. But man, yeah, Jim, always a pleasure. I think looking forward to doing this over and over and over again. Offline, we should put together a list and figure out what we're going to talk about on these next shows because I think I mean
You know,
we've been spitballing ideas and I
Well,
think
I will also say, because you've got a new following and everything else, I think that if you're interested in, if you're out there and you want to talk about or hear something or wonder how things work, to ask Angelo. I
yeah,
mean, we can sit here. I mean, I hate to tell you how many games I have played
yeah,
and how many different systems of RPGs and every other things I've played. I mean, I am a wasted life of gaming.
Yeah.
Um, I just got
That's
lucky
a
that I could somehow make a living and keep going, even throughout all the traumas and everything else. But I love it. And the reason is I just love the hobby. And I've found that most often I love the people in the hobby. There's not
that's a
as many clunkers in the hobby as the real world.
yeah.
So,
That's a really good way to do it. I think what we could do is ask the viewers, anybody that's watching this, put it in the comments, any kind of subjects you want to talk about, any game systems, anything that you think suggests that we
and if
should
you want to
start
see
talking about.
painting, and you want to see all that, we'll do that too. I can have situations where, if you got a figure out there you need for your game coming up, do a send Angelo I need a creature, a monster or something. And if we can get it, figure out a way to maybe get it to you. You can get
Yeah,
a piece of the hobby from the
I
very
love
people
it.
themselves.
I love it.
So
I love it. I
all of
love it.
it's good. Like I said, anything I mean, I spent years and much of my treasure trying to make the hobby better. And I would
Yeah.
love to see
And
it
you're
keep
doing that.
getting better and better,
And you're doing that.
Yeah.
All
So wish
right,
I was
Jim.
doing more. Have a
Look
good
it.
one.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
And
Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to
and
all your fans.
yeah, yeah, everybody, yeah, definitely, yeah, guys. Merry Christmas and New Year is coming up. Happy New Year, and I'll try to get this out by tomorrow morning. And yeah, you guys put it in the comments. We're gonna be doing this series. I don't know what we're gonna call it, gabbing with whatevers, and we're gonna talk about anything. So we'll throw this out there. But man, Jim, thanks again. Great seeing you. Uh, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Well,
Merry Christmas. Stay
I'll
warm
talk to
up
you
there in
before New
Montana.
Year's. What's that?
Stay warm up there in Montana.
Yeah, yeah, it's starting to get cold. It's actually pretty
Oh
warm
yeah,
today.
yeah. It's freezing here in Southern California too. Yeah.
It's 50 degrees here today. It'll be freezing tonight. But anyways, you guys all take care. And just keep on gaming, guys. All right.
Game on.
All right. Take care, everybody.
All right. Fight me,
Take
devils,
care.
fight. See you. Have a good one.